Pseudo Planche push-ups, the most underrated, no equipment required, bodyweight pushing exercise there is. Do them and you'll get amazing definition in your pecs and your shoulders. Pseudo Planche push-ups are a deceptively difficult bodyweight exercise. Now, you'll traditionally see people grinding these out in the world of calisthenics to do some more advanced moves like tuck planches, tuck planche push-ups, or planches. But even if you have no aspirations of doing any of these advanced skills, you should still be doing pseudo planche push-ups. Now, why should you be doing them? Well, they're a pushing exercise that can literally be done anywhere at any time with no equipment. Although I do prefer doing them on a set of parallettes. But most importantly, pseudo planche push-ups will increase your pushing strength. And in terms of aesthetics, you will get that definition in your chest and your shoulders that's going to look really good. And as I mentioned earlier, it requires no equipment, so there's literally no excuse to get in your way. Getting set up to do a pseudo planche push-up is pretty easy, but being able to do it is another story. But let's take a look at how to do it.
Start by getting into a normal push-up position like this. From here, you're going to want to walk your toes forward just a little bit, nothing too crazy, and focus on pushing your shoulder blades out. You want them out like this with your core and your body tight, not like this. So push your body or push your shoulder blades out, and then from here, slowly lower to the ground. And here's the hard part, pushing back up. So first things first, these are hard to do. If it's your first time doing these and you're struggling with them, it's normal. And the reason for this is that normally when we're pushing, if you're in a normal pushing position, you're pushing like this. But when we're doing pseudo planche push-ups, we're basically pushing like this. We're pushing in this downwards motion. So if this is your first time doing this and you're not used to doing any sort of pushing exercise going down, it is going to be difficult and it's going to take some time to get used to it. If you're still struggling with this, another tip would just be to reduce the amount that you're leaning. If you're trying to get super aggressive right here, just reduce the amount that you're leaning, because the further you lean forward, the harder it's going to be. And as always, film yourself. If you film yourself, you'll be able to get a better idea of exactly how far forward that you're leaning. So if you're right here, maybe bring it back a little bit and practice there until you're ready to increase that lean. Another tip is to really focus on your breathing. So when you're at the top of this movement right here, shoulders pushed out, as you're going down, take a big inhale, and then when you get to the bottom and you're about to explode up, exhale out, and that'll really help you to control your breathing as you're doing this exercise. But more importantly, when you're at the bottom, as you exhale, to really explode through this movement, because it is difficult, it takes a lot of strength. So really focus on your breathing as you're doing this movement. Now, why am I focusing so much on pushing my shoulder blades out? Well, first, if you decide to move on to some more advanced calisthenics exercises, it's going to help that transition. But even if you don't have goals of doing those advanced moves, it's still important because we are trying to work our chest here. So one way to illustrate this point is to get into this position, retract your shoulders, and try and flex your chest, try and flex your pecs. It's gonna be kind of difficult to do. But if you're here, if your shoulder blades are pushed out, it's a lot easier to flex your pecs, and it's kind of naturally happening just because of how far you're pushed into this motion or pushed into that movement. So really focus on protracting your shoulders at the top of the movement, whether you only care to do this exercise or you plan to advance onto more advanced calisthenics movements, because fully pushing those shoulder blades out at the top of the movement is going to engage the pecs and help get that contraction and that tension in that muscle that we're working with this exercise. And finally, really control the eccentric portion of the movement. As you're lowering down to the ground, control that. I know it sucks because when I could only do a couple of these, it's really hard to force yourself to do that. But I've noticed the biggest strength gains from this movement when I really started focusing on controlling that eccentric. So when I'm here, really taking the time to lower down and then push through, as opposed to just kind of cranking out reps. It might look cool, it might feel good because you get to log that you did 10 reps, but really control that down, keep those muscles tight throughout the entire range of motion, and then once you're at the bottom, just explode and push through back to the starting position.
Now that we know how to do a pseudo planche push-up, how do we track our progress? Counting sets, reps, and any additional weight that we've added to our push-ups is pretty easy, but with a pseudo planche push-up, we need to track our lean.
Now, to track your progress with something like a pseudo planche push-up, it's helpful to do them in the same spot every time, and I'll show you why in a second. It's also helpful to have a wall behind you. A wall behind you will help keep your feet in place so that they're not sliding around, which is something that would happen on a floor like this when I'm wearing socks. So once you found a good spot to do pseudo planche push-ups, you got your wall behind you, you found a good amount of lean that works for you, you crank out a few push-ups, and you decide this is a good spot for me to do it. Whether you're using your hands or parallettes, just make a little marking. Just put a piece of tape, or if you want to, just make a mark on the floor. And that way, every time the reps start to get high or it starts to feel a little bit too easy, you can just move your parallettes or move your hands back and then just make another marking with the tape, which will allow you to track exactly how much lean you're using as you progress over time.
I've mentioned this earlier, but this is a hard exercise. So if you're struggling, here's a few tips to help you out. Just like my pull-ups video where I focused heavily on negatives, they're worth your time here too.
So if you want to do negatives with a pseudo planche push-up, it's pretty simple. Just get into your position however far you want to lean forward, and then just slowly lower down until you get to the bottom, and then just reset and start doing it with this little guy.
But another option is to focus on static holds.
The static hold portion of a pseudo planche push-up is also pretty straightforward. You're just gonna get into your push-up position, lean forward as far as it feels comfortable, push those shoulders out, and then just really stay here and just focus on holding this position. And if you want to time it, just place a cell phone right in front of you. You can just watch that timer, go for 5, 10, 15 seconds, however long you want to do, and then just repeat it for sets.
Well, there you have it. That is the pseudo planche push-up. Now, hopefully I've been able to convince you to give these a try the next time you're getting a workout in. And if you do, let me know how it goes. Feel free to leave a comment below with any feedback or any comments, questions about the push-up itself. If you'd be so kind, also consider liking the video and subscribing to my channel to stay up to date on my latest videos. Thank you for watching.